It's impossible to think of visionary leaders of Fiji, or even in the Pacific, and be able to get past the name of Ratu Sukuna. For example, in other countries of the Pacific, which other country of the South Pacific has a native land system that is well demarcated, reservedly surveyed, known to belong to a particular tribe, and has laws to embed that relationship between a people, their land, and their resources. The ambassador spoke of how long Ratu Sukuna toiled, literally walked miles unending, crossed rivers and streams, climbed mountains, hiked terrains to identify boundaries, and as he walked along, all of this without the help of modern equipment, no drones, no touchpad, no fancy phone, and so on. In his time, this was an arduous exercise. And these great men, thinking of how important it is for race that was soon to interact with global citizens, the need to know their land boundaries and to protect it by legislation. He was indeed a visionary leader. He saw Fiji without a proper land-owning system would be a chaotic Fiji. Thus, the establishment of the TLTB was the brainchild of the late Ratu Sukuna. He fought for it. He fought for this administrative system to stand as a guardian of all native land and to filter usage of land as the nation's economic needs and demands change. I remember reading in one of his speeches in which he was encouraging land-owning units that were not using their land to list for the nation's benefit and overall economic development. This was safe to suggest because at the time he was doing that, ownership was no longer an issue. It will, has always been forever, known to be land-owning units, even if it was leased. Mr. Ambassador spoke of Ratu Sukuna's time as a soldier serving with the French Foreign Legion. In fact, His Excellency noted that he tried to join Her Majesty's service, but that was not allowed because of policy. But he showed bravery in the French Foreign Legion and was awarded one of the highest honors in the French war service. And it was because of such bravery that the doors of the British Army were opened to our own men initially, and many decades later to our young men and our young women to enlist and be part of the King's service to this day. He had set an example that would one day benefit thousands of Fiji's sons and daughters, help them earn decent living, and make remittance the top of our revenue earner of government. I have always maintained that leaders are not always born. You might be born into status. In our tradition setting, chiefs are born, but leaders are trained. That is why I was fascinated with how Ratu Sukuna's early life, an interaction as a young man, and in his early life as a soldier, and as a reformer, he would later on become, in life, literally, single-handedly shaped modern iTaukei life. The Vice-Chancellor spoke about the influence of his mother, Andi Maopa, woman from Laos, who raised up Ratu Sukuna as a child. I am sure that his father or dad played a very huge part in that development. But we acknowledge the women and their role in the development of leaders. Most often speak of the influence of their fathers. But here, as well as in many other leaders of modern day Fiji, there is always that hard-working woman, toils hard, whose names are probably not mentioned, but who truly are the engine room of their success. After all, who would have thought that a student from Wairuku Indian School, outskirts of Ra, penned this decades later, the opening or the laying of the foundation, Queen Victoria School, where it is located today. Such magnificent and perfect Queen's English formation. Ratu Sukuna said, when kings and captains depart, and the scene is once again normal, today's impressive ceremony will surely be recognized as an outstanding landmark in the forward march of the Fijian race. That was said many years ago. Fiji today is looking for leaders who can lead the Ratu Sukuna way. By example, Fiji looks for young leaders inside of this room who would walk the talk, literally. Fiji today look to leaders who would be able to carry on their shoulders the burden of our nation and the future that it holds, just like Ratu Sukuna did many, many decades ago. There are many stories that have been shared the life of Ratu Sukuna. One in particular that I heard and has continued to strike me at the depth of my conscience was when the Second World War was on our shoulders. And he had to travel to villages, Matagalis, and Yabusas to try and convince men who had never held a gun in their lives, never worn a uniform, never marched, who were villagers by any standard, against the advancing empire. It was just to the west of us. Ratu Sukuna, in his Tangi Tangi Walu, spoke at villages, spoke to men, and he said to them, stand up. Stand up. No one else will defend the shores of your island. If you don't, nobody will. Thus, the men who went to the Second World War with no war experience became warriors. Sound of the encouragement of a man who held Fiji in his heart. And when we find leaders amongst you today who have a vision for a better Fiji, just like Ratu Sukuna did in his lifetime, our nation is in good hands. God bless you.